This is Jeremy Tesmer with SGTV. She was born in Astoria, Illinois, just 10 years after the end of the American Civil War, in the heyday of industrial expansion. Nell Cole Danley must have struck the people of her small village as something of a rare bird, an ambitious, modern young woman bent on the life of an artist. Little Nellie drew and painted often as a child. At age 16, around the year that this photo was taken, she exhibited her first watercolor, Yacht, at the Art Institute of Chicago's annual exhibition of watercolors by American artists. It was to become an important relationship. She later studied at the School of the Art Institute, and she continued to exhibit there throughout her life. In 1897, Nell graduated with a Bachelor of Science in French Impressionism from Northwestern University, a degree unique in the institution's history, and one that she earned in just 3 years. From 1901 to 1906, she studied under Newton Wells at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. There she met Quincy Brooker, the editor of the local paper, and married him. During that time, she and her teacher patented a new printing process that she called color etching. The process was twofold. First, she would make a drawing using a traditional etching process. Next, she would paint a blank etching plate and press the colored plate to paper in a process called monotyping. The finished result was a unique work in addition. The monotype process produces an original painting, while the etching process produces a multiple. Each new painting on paper allowed the artist to explore the emotional tenor of a new palette. Occasionally, she would also rework the original etching a bit. Like so many artists of the arts and crafts period, her focus was on producing unique works of art that the masses could afford to take home. Mayhew matured in a time of great artistic foment. In 1853, Japan opened to the West, and Western artists quickly developed a fascination for the aesthetics of Japanese ukiyo-e woodblocks, their simplicity, the dynamic asymmetry of their compositions, and the columnar form. Mayhew's work took these ideas and imbued them with a refined feminine sensibility and various romantic and transcendental ideas about the spiritual value of solitude in the natural world. Just a generation earlier, American artist Georgie Ness wrote, "The true use of art is, first, to cultivate the artist's own spiritual nature." In some ways, Mayhew seems to have followed in the footsteps of Georgie Ness, evoking a sense of poetry and mystery from the dark, ambiguous forms in a landscape dominated by the setting sun. There were other American artists experimenting with monotyping, but with decidedly different results. This work by East Coast Impressionist Maurice Prendergast is so brushy as to be almost completely abstract. Mayhew's works explored the outer limit of abstraction for the era in which she made them, but they also held together quite beautifully, their blurry evening forms suggesting the memory of a dream, the serendipitous effects of a liquid medium pressing into paper, producing gorgeous textures resonant with nature herself. Nell moved to California in 1908 after the death of her husband, Sidney Brooker, and showed the citizens of sleepy Los Angeles a new vision of their poppy fields, their sycamores, their eucalyptus trees, and their purple mountains. Eventually, she married a man named Mayhew, and they had 2 daughters. When the marriage didn't work out, she raised her girls on her meager salary from the USC Faculty of Fine Arts and her sales of paintings and color etchings. She showed with Edgar Payne, William Wendt, and Hanson Puthoff, and took her share of prizes and critical acclaim. Art gave a single woman in a conservative town a means of supporting herself. It took talent, drive, and persistence, but she made it. On the East Coast, the Paul Revere pottery and the famous single women known as the Saturday Evening Girls used the same idea to promote women's rights. Sullivan Goss purchased the estate of the artist from her daughters and helped to produce a book documenting this remarkable woman's life and work. "These paintings strike me as the perfect medicine for these troubling times," said the poet Walt Whitman. "After you have exhausted what there is in business, politics, conviviality, and so on, have found that none of these finally satisfy or permanently wear, what remains? Nature remains." The product of Nell Brooker Mayhew's quiet communion with nature will be on view through June 28. Come see it.